Hey guys, it's your favorite Donabot here today, and as you guys can see, I finally got it. I finally got my Spino, and I love it. I love him already. I named him Legiocris, after the King of the Sea in Monster Hunter, the Lord of the Sea, I should say here. And yeah, this dude is definitely going to be my strongest mount, and hopefully and eventually I can find a female for him. Because for some reason, when I downloaded the mod here, Spinos were like almost non-existent on the island for some reason. I'm not sure if it's because the Parazinosaurus mod and stuff like that there. I'm just overly not sure entirely here. But yeah, I got most of my creatures back, by the way. If you guys didn't know, I got my Eorcarchiras, I got at least 4 Lythronoxes, 2.5 Monolophosauruses, well, 2 Monolophosauruses, excuse me. And I actually got a seahorse, a bubblefish, and a Basilosaurus. But we're not here to talk about that today here. We're here to talk about what if I made a mod for this game, right? So honestly, I only have like 4 creatures in mind. Now, if someone does take this idea and decides to make their own renditions of these creatures like most modders do, again, I am not going to be mad about it because I'll be happy to play with these creatures nevertheless here. So yeah, these are the 4 creatures I would definitely make as my first part of the mod here. Might call it legendary works and stuff like that there. Now, Platybeldon, Ampelosaurus, Xenoscion, and Stomatosuchus. Each of these monsters, or sorry, I say monsters like I'm like I'm doing Godzilla content here. Each of these beasts pretty much are some of my favorites, like overall here. And I pissed off a beaver, so my bad. So these 4 right here are some of my favorite creatures that I would love to see in Ark Survival Ascended here. Now, Platybeldon, believe it or not, was supposed to be in the original Ark game. And since we're talking about him, let's just, talk about how I would put him, in the game and stuff. Since he was supposed to be in the original game here, and honestly, I would have loved it because the Mammoth and Deinotherium, they do it. But again, we need that third one. Have him be like the third elephant. I think Philomia is also related to elephants. Maybe. Gotta look up that genus in the future. But yeah, Platybeldon would have been perfect for the game. Now, how would I would have done it? How I would have done it, or how I would have put him in the game, right? Now, again, keep in mind, I might make my own mod in the future, and these might be the first 4 creatures. You never know. So, to start off with Platybeldon, he would actually be a very simple passive tame. However, here's the thing, right? You have to feed it organic polymer. Now, you might say, why would I do that, legendary? Organic polymer normally kills the creature. Yes, except Platybeldon. Alright, Platybeldon is meant to be a very weird creature. Now, all you really got to do is, if you find a low level one, it shouldn't take you long. And the locations I would have this here would mainly be where there are a lot of water areas. Since Platybeldon is kind of like an elephant-like hippo, so this would be like swamps or rivers and stuff like that, some lakes within Ark and stuff, some areas by the redwoods, and it would be a very simple passive tame. Wouldn't get aggressive with you, and the food intake would only take about, or the food time, or the pass between each feeding, excuse me, would actually be around like 30 seconds. Okay, for even a high level one, so it wouldn't even take that long here. Now, Platybeldon's abilities, because it's such a weird creature, Platybeldon would actually have a fear roar, or basically a fear stance and intimidation to actually scare off raptors, okay, carnos, allos, sarcos, capros, piranhas, and even Allosauruses, with the only creatures being immune to this are, well, Baryonyxes as well, excuse me. So anything that's Allo size and below will get scared by Platybeldon. However, Rexes, Spinos, Gigas, Acros, and Deinosuchuses are pretty much immune to him. So yeah, you got your work cut off for you if you got them there. However, Platybeldon would actually have a damage boost to much higher creatures. Again, it is a very weird creature. My goal for Platybeldon would be to make it weird. It's also a very good aquatic creature, and you would actually be able to harvest the water plants within the ocean. This would actually give you a, I'm trying to figure out what I would call it, but I would actually call it a plant suit or a kelp suit. Now, this kelp suit would have two purposes. Basically, you can harvest kelp, and it would actually serve as somewhat of a replacement for organic polymer. So, but this is where you can actually make yourself a kelp suit. Now, this would allow you to not only be able to somewhat breathe underwater, but would also allow you to basically just walk through like any creature and not be seen. Basically, it's another ghillie suit. All right, you wouldn't be seen by any of the creatures unless you touch them or feed them. It will work just like a regular ghillie suit. So that's my portrayal for how I would make Platybeldon. It would be a very weird creature, and that was kind of my goal for it. It has to be a weird creature. You feed it organic polymer. It's a very simple tame. It has a fear roar, an intimidation, and it's a good swimmer. And you can actually get yourself your own ghillie suit by harvesting water plants and getting your own kelp suit. So again, it's meant to be a weird creature. So it could definitely work out some benefits here. Maybe give it a pack boost as well, since elephants normally do have pack boosts in general. So this would actually be pretty good. But again, I do think that is more for the Deinotherium than the Platybeldon. Let's move on to the next one, Stomatosuchus. Now, Stomatosuchus, in my opinion, should be the in-between between the Deinosuchus and the Sarcosuchus. That would actually be my goal if I made Stomatosuchus. Now, as for the size of Stomatosuchus, I would actually make it in between a Sarco and a Deinosuchus when it comes to like height and length. But again, it would actually be a very interesting mount, and this is the reason why, right? So Stomatosuchus is a standard knockout tame. However, you have to feed it cooked fish meat, all right? It has to be cooked. No raw, no nothing. However, you can make the exceptions with cooked raw meat or cooked raw prime meat, okay? It has to be cooked. Nothing else here. Now, here's what's actually pretty interesting about Stomatosuchus here. Concerning it is meant to be better than both the Deinosuchus and the Sarcosuchus here, I decided to give it an ability of its own here. So, like the Baryonyx, it will also have a stun ability. However, it will have one more. Considering Stomatosuchus is meant to be a better ocean mount as well, considering you can take Deinosuchus and Sarcosuchus into the ocean, and they work phenomenal unless it's with Electrophorus or Cyndaria. Hear me out, right? What if Stomatosuchus was immune to that? Because of its armor and because of the thickness of its skin here, it's actually immune to the Electrophorus and the Cyndaria sting. Kind of like a Siamosaurus, which is a better, I guess you could say, the in-between better man between the Baryonyx and, well, the Baryonyx, Oxalia, and the Spinosaurus, right? So not only would the not only would the Stomatosuchus be a whole lot better for oceans, but it'll actually be a very overpowered tame. And again, it's easily breedable, easily able to get in and out of the water in certain situations here. But again, remember, like the Sarco and like the Deinosuchus, it is still slow on land, so you do have to be very careful. So yeah, that's Stomatosuchus. Now, the next one is Ampulosaurus. Now, sauropods in Ark have always been one of the few disappointments, in all honesty. And again, I do like Brontosaurus. I will get it on some maps because, again, when you need to clear your base out, you know, a Brontosaurus is probably one of the best options. Smack around all the trees, get all the bushes out of the way so you can build and stuff. Again, it's one of the more very reliable creatures, right? But then you have the Diplodocus, who, in all honesty, is more useful for, like, again, those bushes and wood, right? You really don't see too many sauropods in combat. Then there's a Margosaurus, who is actually a pain to tame, so we wouldn't have that. And then we finally, and hopefully we get it right, with Dreadnoughtus, okay? So, Ampulosaurus is going to be how a sauropod should be in Ark. Now, Ampulosaurus will be found in grasslands, redwoods, and Herbivore Island. However, it's very different. Unlike any other herbivore, Ampulosaurus is very aggressive. And this is where it actually gets interesting here. Now, Ampulosaurus, while it is aggressive, can only be tamed as a baby. Now, this would make it very interesting. Because of its aggression when it's an adult, because it has to fend itself from multiple carnivores, you have to actually tame it as a baby. Meaning you have to actually kill the parents and steal the baby. Alright? Then you got yourself a guaranteed loyal companion. Now, while this taming method is pretty simple, because again of Ark Survival Ascended's baby mechanic, Ampulosaurus, when it's fully grown, is actually a very interesting creature. Now, Ampulosaurus actually gets a damage buff when it attacks carnivores. This includes Rexes, Gigas, Acros, Deinosuchuses, Sarcosuchuses, you can name it. Alright, it gets a boost, an attack boost here, when it's attacking carnivores here. Now, it would also let out a bellow. Now, this is pretty important because sauropods do travel in herds. If you have more than at least one Ampulosaurus here, you could let out a boost roar, which boosts the Ampulosaurus's attack and defense and makes them immune to any bleed damage. Meaning if you go against a Thyla or a Giga, yeah, they won't be able to bleed. And they'll be able to take down or eventually wear down that Giga. Alright, so yeah, there you have it. It also gives a defense boost to the rest of your creatures around it. So yeah, that's how I would do Ampulosaurus. Now, finally, Xenoscion. And believe it or not, I had a very hard time deciding where I would put this one. Because again, I'm not too much of a fan of, Scorched Earth or Aberration. But again, I do think that I would definitely make a Scorched variant for Scorched Earth. And obviously, I would also make a variant for the island, right? So, where would Xenoscion spawn? And in all honesty, I probably would put it on Carno Island, okay? The grasslands, okay? And even some beginner areas. Now, you might say, Legendary, why in beginner areas? Because Xenoscion is much like a dog. Considering Xenoscion is the much more advanced version of the African wild dog here, I do think having Xenoscion as an early tame would actually be beneficial. Getting a Xenoscion pretty early in your Ark career, I would probably say you have to get it around level 10 or 15. Okay, that way you can unlock its saddle, and you unlock a special concoction for Xenoscion. Alright, you actually unlock a Dogmone, which can actually be simply made by chitin. Alright, chitin or keratin. You can actually craft it with at least 10 or 20 chitin or keratin. This would allow you to actually play with Xenoscion, and you can actually throw the bone, and it will fetch it and bring it right back. If you do this at least 3 times, when the Zeo Scion wants to play with you, then you will have yourself a loyal companion. It's telling me a throw, come back, wait, throw, come back, wait, and then another one. And then you'll have yourself a Xeno Scion. Now, Xeno Scions, when they're in packs, obviously get a damage boost or a pack bonus, right? However, their bite is a lot more different than the dire wolves here. It's much more effective. It actually deals both bleed and bone crushing. Considering the sheer fact that Xeno Scions also eat their prey alive, much like African wild dogs, you're actually harvesting meat off the creature while you're attacking it. I know it's absolutely ridiculous and it sounds a little bit more morbid and twisted, but again, yeah, that's how I would do Xeno Scion. Having him be just kind of like this early good boy tame, but it has that dark side nature to it. Like you actually are like eating the creature alive while you're in combat with it. So, shoot, honestly, I think that's pretty much it here in all honesty. You see, with these creatures and how I would portray them if I made my own mod here, and again, I do hope someone at least puts Stomatosuchus and Xeno Scion in the game. There should be no if, and, or buts about it. And in all honesty, I might make a part 2, at least when I find other creatures that I can at least envision a decent and quality way to add them in Ark Survival Ascended. Because let's be real here, this game now has a whole lot of potential for more creatures. I'm not even joking. I mean, I've downloaded a whole bunch of new and different mods to it. I mean, y'all just heard me say I got the seahorse. But that's going to be all. Please comment, like, and subscribe and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope y'all have a blessed day. Peace.